piece of your heart. I'm calling you up to getting down, down. Show me a piece of your love. I'm calling you up to getting down, down. Show me a piece of your heart, a piece of your love. I'm calling you up to getting down, down, down. The way that we touch is never enough. I'm turning you up to getting down, down, down.
What? Sorry, just quickly. What if it's
Da da da, down, down, da da.
In today's video, we're taking a look at the Emax TINYHAWK 2 Freestyle. I think I've already reviewed this one, but I don't even remember anymore because I've reviewed so many things. So we're going to be taking a look at the Emax TINYHAWK 2 and how does it compare to the latest stuff out in the market, and also what you need to take into consideration when purchasing this, and what is the type of areas you would possibly fly. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. PCBWay is one of the leading PCB manufacturers out there, and it is the manufacturer I use for my products. Now, if you're either a hobbyist and or looking to create a final product, PCBWay is going to be a really great choice with their 24-hour and also assembly services. So go ahead and check the links down below. Let's quickly cover some of the accessories they do provide you in the packaging here. Two 450 milliamp HV batteries in the package. We also do get a battery strap and two sets of propellers, also the screws, and also a USB charger here. And last but not least, you do also get the carrying case, which has some stickers and some other things as well, which is really nice, especially when you're going to be taking out to the park. So let's go ahead and discuss some of the execution, because there are some things that are a big no-no in my opinion, which is, for example, we have the motor wires with a zip tie. Sometimes these zip ties actually move back just like that and enable the propeller to hit the wires. So first of all, this is a very bad choice, Emax, and you should have just done with some tape there, because this will definitely be possibly one of the first things to get ruined on your quadcopter if you don't break the frame. So I'd highly recommend you cut these zip ties off and you put some tape around this. It'll extend the overall lifespan of your quadcopter here. Now for the frame itself, I think it's pretty decent, but it's going to have a higher tendency to break. I wish it was slightly thicker here. I think this one is actually 2 millimeters. So let's quickly double check that. So yeah, the bottom frame is 2 millimeters. I wish they would have gone with at least 2.75 or 3 millimeters here. It's pretty rigid, but it does have some flex to it, which is kind of scary. The cuts look pretty good, so that's all right. I would have gone ahead and really not bothered with the design here, and I would have just used that money instead to get a bit thicker carbon fiber for it. Now for camera protection, it's decent enough. It does have slight camera protection, which is again really great. And you can tilt the camera pretty aggressively, as you can tell right here. Now another thing with the execution that I really hate about these is the antenna placements. I mean, last time I ripped this off, and I was really hoping with their latest board, these antennas were IPEX and secured in a better way, because I have ripped this off before. So this time they're actually using a slightly thicker wire here, so I guess they have been listening, which is again really great, and you actually need that, because if this goes away, you're gonna have to buy yourself a receiver and figure out how to connect it here. The thing that I really hate with the Emax models is the placement of their antennas. I mean, it's really bad. I mean, just a small 3D printed part that would hold that there or something would have been really great. And you can see that they're using a pretty long pigtail here, and the reason for that is because the video transmitter doesn't get that much range, and theoretically or realistically, you're not going to be flying this that far. This is kind of like a park flyer here, and that's about it really. And if we take a closer look inside, we do see we have a Rubicon low ESR capacitor, which again is always really great. It is very smooth and very quiet. That is something that I really love, or that is a characteristic of the Emax quadcopters, especially the pre-built ones. They're all very quiet, very Not all of them are efficient, but they're very quiet and very smooth to fly. Now let's discuss the flight characteristics. Now this is, I think, by far one of their most efficient ones so far, which is really great to see here, because usually their previous models, especially the first generation of the Emax TINYHAWKs, whether it's a freestyle or normal one, they used to bring down the batteries really hot and they would barely fly for almost 2.7 minutes. Basically, it wouldn't fly more than that. This one here, you do get a bit more flight time. However, you do not have that, don't expect to have the performance of a 3S Micro. You're not going to have that. So you can kind of see in my video where I was expecting a bit more power, but it was just, it's very gradual, linear. It's very linear, the power. There is no exponential curve. Even if you punch it, it's still very linear. Maybe it's obviously the props have a lot to do with it, and it won't really take long to adjust for that, especially if you're coming in from like a 4S or a 3S Micro. Don't forget, this is a 2S here, so keep that in mind as well. And it's really nice that you can get above 3 minutes of flight time on this because it flies pretty good. Now, let's talk about the rates and the profile they have set up. Well, first of all, if you ever do flash this, it probably won't ever work again unless you have dumped your beta flight configuration, because the current firmware is the Maytag RX, and the Maytag RX has it's predefined differently with the motor output. So this board's design is slightly different than the Maytag RX target when you flash. So make sure you do a dump before So make sure you go into the Betaflight and you do dump the settings just in case you ever need that. All you'll need to really change are the resource remapping here. So keep that in mind. It's very important, because I was able actually to put an AI in this to replace the PID controller, and we'll get into that in a later video. Now, again, back to the profile, there is so much latency with the rates or whatever they're set up, or the filters on, just to smooth out your control, basically. That's why it looks so smooth, but you do feel a huge latency. Like, for example, if you're going to quickly roll to avoid something, it's going to take a bit to kick in till you feel it. That's the default rates on this. So don't expect super fast proximity flying with the current rates they've set up for the control. However, in return, it allows you to fly smoother, capture decent video. Not that you're going to be using the video here anyways, but it allows you to fly smoother due to its rates, but you do also get to feel that latency. That could easily be removed if you just switch back to the default beta flight rates, and you'll be back to normal. So keep that in mind when you purchase. You might find it really smooth, and you might feel that bit of latency while you're flying. So keep that in mind so you don't crash it. Now, I don't know if this is still a great idea, because obviously this one can't run 1S, and they don't provide you with the jumper to allow it to run 1S, so it's meant to be on a 2S setup. So I don't see the reason why they've done it like this. I wish it was more of like an XT30. Then they provided an adapter so you can plug these guys in. But yeah, that comes back to Emax. Maybe they have a bunch of these in stock. And yeah, it's not really proprietary, which again is really good. But at the same time, I would have preferred to see some sort of an XT30 connector like everything else in the market. Though it's not a deal breaker, because you could buy a ton of these for really cheap now, which again is really great. And it's going to be much easier to charge, especially if you don't have a charger, with the charger they do provide. So what are my final opinions on this? Well, right now, if you're looking for a speed demon, a tiny micro speed demon, this is not going to be the one for you. Remember, this is running 2S, but it is efficient. So you do get a decent flight time, and it's more of a laid back kind of flyer, because it doesn't have that torque in order for you to do these really super aggressive type maneuvers at high speed. Also, at times you're not going to be able to pull out because the throttle is so linear. Even if you have it punched out all the way, it just takes a while for it to pick back up. So if you're looking for a nice laid back, pretty smooth flyer with decent flight time, then this is going to be the one for you. And the overall maintenance and cost, I think, to keep this running is pretty cheap, as far as I believe. I need to do my research actually on that. But batteries, you can get these for super cheap. It does come with a charger, so it's a nice little to-go carry-on quadcopter maybe. I don't know. It's up to you. You decide. Let me know if you have it and what do you think of it down below. And if you guys have any questions or any suggestions, feel free to let me know. And everything's linked down below if you can check those out. It was a great support channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.